Good afternoon, the world that's known. My name is Nathaniel Oyegoku. First headlines. In Nigeria, jubilation in Ekiti as APC wins governorship election. 7 killed, other wounded in terrorist clashes in Syria. Earthquake hits central Japan. 8 million Australians urged to turn off light. And now the news in detail. The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has declared the candidate of the All Progressives Congress in the just concluded Ekiti State governorship election, Mr. Abiodun Oyèbánjí, winner of the poll. He polled a total of 187,057 votes to defeat his closest challenger and former governor of the state, Engineer Segun Oni of the Social Democratic Party (SDP), who polled a total of 82,211 votes, while the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Mr. Bisi Kolawole, came third with a total vote of 67,457. At the meantime, supporters of the All Progressives Congress (APC) in Ekiti State erupted in jubilation in the early hours of today when the candidate of the party, Mr. Abiodun Oyèbánjí, was declared the winner of the election after choosing the 15 other candidates that partook in the exercise. Oyèbánjí was the immediate past secretary to the state government, won in 15 out of the 16 local government areas of the state. He polled 187,057 votes to defeat his closest challenger, Mr. Segun Oni of the Social Democratic Party, who scored 82,211 votes, and the candidate of the People's Democratic Party (PDP), Bisi Kolawole, who got 67,457 votes. Kolawole won his local government area F1, where he scored 6,303 to beat APC's 4,012 and SDP 339 votes. Reports from Ado-Ekiti, the state capital, indicates that residents trooped to the streets to celebrate the victory in the dead of the night. Similarly, in Ikogosi, Ekiti West local government area, where Oyèbánjí hails from, residents also began celebrating the victory of their kinsman at the poll. Also in Ikare-Ekiti, where his running mate, Mrs. Monetade Afuye, comes from, residents also began celebration as the results were announced by the respective local government returning officers. Still on events in Nigeria, business mogul and founder Presidential Hotel Osogbo Alhaji Ahmed Omidiran has passed on. The famous business icon and Asiwaju of Osogboland died early today at the age of 95. A statement signed by the family spokesman, Babatunde Omidiran, indicates that a special prayer will be held in honor of the deceased at the Osogbo Central Mosque after the House-Street prayer today. It adds that the prayer party will thereafter convey the remains of the popular and successful businessman to his residence at Omidiran Gardens, Osogbo, where he will be buried. The statement explains that further announcement concerning the burial will be made later. In the meantime, 7 people were killed and 15 others wounded in the wake of clashes between 2 terrorist groups. It was learned that the terrorists of Jabhat al-Shamiyya and Haraham al-Sham engaged in deadly clashes in the Al-Bab area in the eastern suburbs of Syria's Aleppo. Reports have it that Jabhat al-Shamiyya raided the headquarters of Haral al-Sham in the countryside of Al-Bab and arrested several militants of them. This is the word that's known, coming to you from Osun State Broadcasting Corporation, Iliawiye Okebale, Osogbo. Now amid news message. Weekend is always a beehive of activities. Exercise caution on the highway. An earthquake with a preliminary magnitude of 5.2 has hit central Japan today. The national broadcaster NHK said the epicenter of the earthquake was Ishikawa Prefecture. However, no tsunami warning had been issued. There were no immediate reports of damage, but authorities are urging vigilance against potential landslide or falling objects. Massive floods have ravaged parts of Bangladesh and India, leaving dozens of people dead and millions stranded. Reports indicate that monsoon rains have caused widespread flooding in northeastern Bangladesh and India, stranding nearly 6 million people and killing at least 41 people. The flooding in Bangladesh, described by experts as potentially the country's worst since 2004, was exacerbated by the runoff from heavy rain across Indian mountains. Chief Administrator of Bangladesh Sylhet region, Mr. Mohammed Musharraf Hussain, said much of the country's northeast is underwater and the situation is getting worse as heavy downpour continues. Before the outgone week's rains, Sylhet region was still recovering from what was then its worst flooding in nearly 2 decades late last month, when at least 10 people were killed and 4 million others affected. Seasonal monsoon rains, a lifeline for farmers across South Asia, also typically cause death and property damage every year. Bangladesh and India have experienced increasing extreme weather in recent years, causing large-scale damage. NATO Secretary General Mr. Jens Stoltenberg has warned that the West must prepare to continue supporting Ukraine in a war last 4 years. He believes the cost of war are high, but the price of letting Russia achieve its military goals is even greater. His comments came as UK Prime Minister Mr. Boris Johnson also warned of the need to brace for a longer-term conflict. Both measures, Stoltenberg and Johnson, claimed that sending more weapons would make a victory for Ukraine more likely. The last few months, Russian and Ukrainian forces have battled for control of territory in the country's east, with Russia making slow advances in recent weeks. British Prime Minister accused Russia's Vladimir Putin of resorting to a campaign of attrition and trying to grind down Ukraine by sheer brutality. Australia's Energy Minister Mr. Chris Bowen has urged households in New South Wales, a state that includes the country's biggest city, Sydney, to switch off their lights in the face of an energy crisis. Mr. Bowen said people should not use electricity for 2 hours every evening if they have a choice, but added he was confident that blackouts could be avoided. It comes after Australia's main wholesale electricity market was suspended because of a surge in prices. Australia is one of the world's biggest exporter of coal and liquefied natural gas, but has been struggling with a power crisis since last month, even as 3/4 of the country's electricity is still generated using coal. It has been long accused of not doing enough to cut its emissions by investing in renewables. In recent weeks, Australia has felt the impact of disruptions to coal supplies, outages at several coal-fired power plants, and soaring global energy prices. Flooding earlier this year hit some coal mines in near South Wales and Queensland, while technical issues have cut production at 2 mines that supply the market's biggest coal-fired station in New South Wales. Tomorrow is the World Refugee Day for the year 2022. It is an international day designated by the United Nations to honor refugees around the globe, celebrating the strength and courage of people forced to flee their mother countries for their home safety from conflict or persecution. Each year has a theme. And the theme for this year is wherever, whenever, wherever everyone has the right to seek safety. Here again are the highlights of the world at noon. Supporters of the All Progressives Congress APC in Ekiti State erupted in jubilation in the early hours of today when the candidate of the party, Mr. Abiodun Oyebanji, was declared the winner of the election after choosing the 15 other candidates that partook in the exercise. 7 people were killed and 15 others wounded in the wake of clashes between 2 terrorist groups. An earthquake with a preliminary magnitude of 5.2 has hit central Japan today. Australia's Energy Minister, Mr. Chris Bowen, has urged households in New South Wales, a state that includes the country's biggest city, Sydney, to switch off their lights in the face of an energy crisis. That was the word at noon, edited by Lateef Agbola and delivered by Nathaniel Oyegoke. More about us you can visit www.osbcng.org. Thanks for listening to the word at noon. Good afternoon.
Yes, strut up. OSBC Radio 214.5 to the world. Yeah, man.